In the late 1990s, Belize was known as a quiet Caribbean paradise. Turquoise water, palm trees, wooden houses painted in fading pastels, and a population so small that people still believed in the phrase, "It takes a village to raise a child." Crime existed, yes, but serial murder? The calculated hunting of schoolgirls? That was something that happened in big cities, not here. Then, in October 1998, 13-year-old Sherilee Nicholas vanished on her way to school in Belize City. Her mother worked long hours sweeping streets for modest pay. Sherilee was bright, talkative, known by her teachers. When she didn't return home, panic spread quickly. Days later, her body was discovered in shallow water along the Western Highway, roughly 8 miles outside the city. She had been stabbed more than 40 times. There were signs of sexual assault. The brutality alone shocked investigators, but the detail that truly chilled them was what lay nearby. Clothing belonging to another missing child, 9-year-old Jay Blades, who had disappeared 2 days earlier. 2 girls, linked by proximity, possibly by the same hand. This wasn't a random act of violence. This felt organized, intentional. Within weeks, whispers spread across Belize City. Parents stopped allowing daughters to walk alone. Neighbors who once chatted freely now eyed strangers with suspicion. Candlelight vigils lit the humid night air. And as more details surfaced, the media began using a name that would permanently scar the nation: the Belize Ripper. Because what was unfolding was not a single tragedy, it was the beginning of a pattern. As investigators dug deeper, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Between late 1998 and 1999, multiple girls between the ages of 9 and 15 disappeared, nearly all from poor neighborhoods in Belize City. Many were from single-parent homes. Some were raised by grandparents while parents worked abroad in the United States. These were children who walked home alone, children who sometimes returned with unexplained gifts, fruit, small amounts of cash, clothing. Sherilee had been bringing fruit back to school before she vanished. Jackie Malik, 12, had also come home with money and clothes no one could explain. Then the bodies kept appearing. 15-year-old Samantha Gordon was found floating in shallow coastal water, naked, her body marked by cuts. Jackie Malik was later discovered near the same area where Sherilee had been found, but with her left hand severed. The violence was not chaotic, it was controlled. Some investigators quietly noted the precision of the wounds, suggesting anatomical knowledge. 9-year-old Erica Wills disappeared even while police had a suspect in custody for earlier killings. Weeks later, only skeletal remains were found behind a quarry, identified by a small Tweety bird ring and hairband. That detail devastated the country. If a suspect was already jailed and another girl still vanished, what did that mean? Was the wrong man arrested, or were there multiple offenders? The pattern now included isolated disposal sites along highways, coastal areas, and quiet rural spots. The killer, or killers, knew the terrain. They understood timing, and they were comfortable operating in the dark. Belize had never faced something like this, and the fear was escalating faster than the investigation. By mid-1999, public pressure reached a boiling point. Citizens demanded action. Schools imposed tighter supervision. An 8 p.m. curfew was introduced for minors. The government needed answers. Police arrested Michael Williams, a local auto mechanic who had reportedly offered Jackie and her sister a ride to school the day she disappeared. A woman alleged he had abused her years earlier. On the surface, it looked like a breakthrough, but prosecutors were uneasy. Adolph Lucas, Belize's top prosecutor at the time, later indicated that the evidence simply wasn't strong enough. There was no physical evidence tying Williams to the murders, no confirmed forensic link. Witnesses claimed to have seen him near crime scenes at night, but one statement placed him near a location at a time when he was documented to be in police custody. Other arrests followed. 5 men were detained in connection with Samantha's murder. In another case, a family member was arrested in Orange Walk after 10-year-old Karen Cruz was found dead near her home. But again, the cases fell apart under scrutiny. The problem was forensic capability. Belize did not have advanced DNA testing facilities at the time. Critical samples were sent abroad. Authorities sought assistance from the FBI and Scotland Yard. Months passed waiting for results. Investigations stalled. Suspects were released due to insufficient evidence. Imagine the tension, a nation terrified, parents walking children to school, and no clear suspect. Then, as suddenly as the killings had begun, they stopped. No dramatic arrest, no confession, no announcement, just silence. And silence in serial cases is never simple. One of the most persistent theories surrounding the Belize Ripper centers on the nature of the wounds. Investigators noted that the mutilations were not frenzied. Some cuts appeared deliberate and precise. This led to speculation that the offender may have had medical training, or at least anatomical familiarity. Was he a healthcare worker? A butcher? Someone accustomed to handling bodies? The severed hand of Jackie Malik raised further questions. Was it symbolic? Was the killer removing evidence? Or was it ritualistic behavior? Organized offenders often demonstrate planning and control. They select vulnerable victims. They isolate them. They dispose of bodies in areas that delay discovery but are still accessible to them. That pattern fits what happened in Belize. Another theory focuses on mobility. Belize is geographically small, with limited major highways connecting Belize City to rural areas. Whoever committed these crimes likely had reliable transportation and knowledge of remote coastal or highway sites. Some residents speculated about a lone predator blending into society. Others feared a small group working together. The fact that killings continued while suspects were jailed fueled conspiracy theories. Could the real offender have been someone trusted? Someone above suspicion? In serial crime history, we've seen predators hide behind uniforms, professions, and respected community roles. The absence of a confirmed perpetrator leaves the door open to unsettling possibilities. And perhaps the most haunting detail of all, after 2000, the murders stopped. Serial offenders rarely retire voluntarily at the peak of activity, which raises the uncomfortable possibilities: death, incarceration elsewhere, or relocation beyond Belize's borders. The impact of the Belize Ripper case went far beyond the victims. It fractured the national psyche. Belize had prided itself on being an oasis compared to neighboring regions affected by civil unrest and organized crime. But these murders exposed vulnerabilities: poverty, lack of forensic infrastructure, limited investigative resources, and social changes that left children unsupervised while parents worked abroad. Community organizations demanded reform. Public vigils were held. Parents began escorting daughters to school. Neighbors who once left doors unlocked became guarded. For the families, however, the headlines eventually faded, but grief did not. Jay Blades, whose clothing was found near Shirley's body, was missing for 6 months before skeletal remains were discovered. Forensic confirmation brought identification, but not closure. Erica Wills was identified through personal items. Samantha Gordon's death shocked coastal communities. And still, no one was definitively convicted for the full pattern attributed to the so-called Belize Ripper. Cold cases age in strange ways. Evidence degrades, witness memories fade. But modern DNA technology has solved cases decades older than this one. If preserved correctly, biological samples could still hold answers. The question is whether resources and political will align to reopen such investigations. Because unresolved serial cases do something dangerous. They linger. They create the possibility that justice was never served and that someone walked away untouched. Here's what makes this case especially disturbing: escalation followed by disappearance. From 1998 to 1999, multiple young girls were targeted in what appeared to be an organized pattern involving sexual assault, mutilation, and controlled disposal of remains. Then, around 2000, the murder ceased. Criminal profiling suggests that abrupt cessation often results from external interruption, arrest for unrelated charges, imprisonment in another jurisdiction, severe illness, or death. Relocation is also possible, especially in regions with cross-border movement. Belize shares proximity with Mexico and Guatemala. Travel in the late 1990s required far less digital traceability than today. If the offender relocated, were similar crimes ever reported elsewhere with comparable victimology and wound patterns? That question has never been definitively answered publicly. And that uncertainty is what keeps this story alive. 7 girls between 9 and 15 lost their lives in a country that believed such horror could never happen there. Families were left without definitive justice. A nation was forced to confront the possibility that evil doesn't always look like an outsider. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. The Belize Ripper remains unidentified in the public record. No trial, no confession, no final chapter. Just a chilling stretch of years when children disappeared, and then silence. And for true crime, silence is never comforting. It's a question mark.